We welcome you all on our second webcast on design thinking today. The need of the hour, design thinking utilizes elements like empathy and experimentation and encourages individuals to create innovative solutions to address problems. This results in developing improved processes, resulting in generating better results. Today is Arundhati Shafakar. Arundhati has trained thousands of employees from diverse industries. She has designed and delivered training programs across a wide array of competencies through various levels of professionals. She's a certified design thinking practitioner from Society of Design Thinking Professionals UK, has an advanced diploma in learning and development, and an internationally certified trainer and facilitator. Over to you, Arundhati.
Thank you very much, Shambhavi, and I welcome all of you to this design thinking webinar. This is the second episode of it. However, there are some concepts that we will discuss for some of those who are attending this webinar for the first time. So with that, I welcome all of you. And before we move understanding what design thinking is all about, I would like you to think about this, and you can answer in the chat window. During this lockdown period, what was that one thing, one innovation that you really wish you had with you, which would have made your life easier for yourself as well as your family? Whether it was working for your office, working from home, or whether it was working for home. So what was that innovation that you really missed during this time? And you can put your responses in the chat box. Like if I have to give an example for myself, I really missed having to connect with family members and friends. All right, thank you, Jackie. I was saying the one thing that I really missed was a proper chair at home to sit and work at my office desk, because getting groceries cleaned once you bring them, okay. A cleaning bot, wonderful. A proper workspace. Trust me, Sarita, I struggled so much for the first entire week to identify where exactly do I sit and how do I, a hologram. Thank you, Piyush, yes. So for me, that chair was very, very important. And I wish there was some way I could get a chair that, was customized for my back, for my height. Honest news coverage. Okay. All right. Thank you for your responses. It's wonderful to see you all active and, getting warmed up to the entire webinar. So design thinking. How many of you have heard about design thinking before? Have you heard about design thinking, and do you know where did the term design thinking originate from? Any rough idea? Okay, no, not a problem, Anirudh. Heard of it? Okay. IDEO, yes, Piyush. Yes, IDEO was the one to coin the term. Right, so design thinking as a concept, it's not rocket science. It is it was something that was practiced right when the Industrial Revolution started, and it was known with a lot of different names. However, David Kelly, who is the founder of IDEO, IDEO stands for Innovation Design Engineering Organization. It's a US-based firm, and they started in 1991. So David Kelly was the guy who coined the term design thinking. Basically, what it means was it's a systematic process that they designed to come up with innovative solutions for day-to-day problems. So that is what the company IDEO as well, they're consultants, and that's what they are into. So that is where design thinking comes from. Here are some of the words that, or thoughts and ideas that will really connect to us, especially during times like these, when when the lockdown started and when the fear of corona was all over the place. We experienced very closely a very complex world, a very complex situation. There was a lot of ambiguity and a lot of changes in the way that we lived our life. And probably some of these changes we still have to live with. There is still ambiguity. The situation still seems very complex, although a lot of things are opening up slightly, but we're still not sure of how things are going to progress. We have been, reading a lot about the forecast that people have, been talking about on the news or on chat shows. But this is the kind of world that we live into, and it's not going to change. This is how we have, the VUCA world is something that we have, we are experiencing and we may have to live with. We've also experienced that businesses are not usual anymore. There is so much innovation in the way people are doing business today. Right from Uber Eats to the entire concept of Airbnb. There's so many new ideas, new thought processes that have come in today's time, and people are constantly innovating to come up with solutions for our day-to-day needs. We have to look at things that, we have to look at products and services that are better than yesterday. We have to get them out in the market faster and definitely at a very competitive, very competitive pace, competitive rates. So something like, the broadband services that the bandwidth that we required during these times was so important. Suddenly, the online platforms gained so much importance all over the world, and companies who had thought about this situation, of course, they did not think about whether a situation like the COVID-19 would come up. But those who envisaged that eventually the world is going to go online, those are the companies like Zoom and all these online platforms. They are the ones who were doing really good during these times where most of the other businesses were suffering. So the bar is up for all of us, for all kinds of businesses, where we have to think about these areas. And hence, in that context, innovation is like the current currency. So if you do not innovate, if you cannot think of ways of bringing better services, better products, or even improving on the existing processes that you have in your organization, the systems that you have been following, if you do not think about those, then businesses are going to collapse. And hence, a lot of companies and organizations, when I say companies, right from the Apples of the world to Accenture, massive consulting firm, to Airbnb, and the likes, they have been adopting design thinking as their approach to innovate. So then what is design thinking? Because if we know that design thinking is one way, one method in which we can really look at innovation and bring in innovation into our organization, it's not that we haven't been thinking about it. We definitely, every day we think of doing things better, even in our workspace. But design thinking gives us that structure, gives us that method to be able to do things more systematically. So let us understand then what design thinking is. I hope I'm audible to everybody so far. Seems like it's good. Okay, thank you. So is design thinking a problem-solving method? Yes, so there is a problem. We understand the problem, we frame the problem, we go to the depth of understanding the problem, and we solve it in a particular method. Yes, thank you very much for your responses. So we solve this problem in a systematic method, in a systematic manner, to come up with innovative solutions. Is it an opportunity seeking process? Yes, definitely. It is an opportunity seeking process. It's not always necessary that there has to be a problem for us to solve it. More often than not, design thinking can be applied in areas where design thinking helps you to identify opportunities. Many a times we don't even know if the problem exists. And and that's the question that I asked in the beginning, that while you were working from home, there were a lot of things that you may have realized that I wish this was like that. I wish the method to do this particular process was simplified in this way. So there are a lot of opportunities that we have identified, by being in a particular space. So yes, design thinking is an opportunity seeking process. It is a problem framing method. In design thinking, we give a lot of importance to understanding the problem, go to the depth of the problem. We may start off understanding or feeling that this is what the problem is with our users. But once we get into the depth and we try and understand the real issue at hand, we may have to reframe our problem statement. And design thinking really banks on this particular process, and that's what it really focuses on. So it is a problem framing method. It is a tested methodology. People have been using it. It has yielded results. However, it's not magic. Like I wouldn't say that it's not a magic pill that you pop and you get solutions. There is a method you have to follow. It is an iterative method, and we need to understand one aspect of design thinking, that failure is a part of this methodology, and I'll explain what I mean by that as we go further. But yes, it is a tested methodology. The chances of failure and losing big definitely reduces with this particular methodology. It is a creative approach. It gives you free hand to be as creative in your approach, to come up with solutions, to come up with new ideas. So it aids creativity. And at the end of the day, it makes sure that everything that you're doing has value in it and is something that is sellable in the market. So it is a business strategy. It's not that design thinking is a process that there's a team of 5 people who are sitting in a conference room and innovating products or innovating a service. Design thinking becomes a part of your business strategy. It's a parallel process, and it helps you in making sure that your business strategy is in place. So then what does design thinking do? Design thinking primarily studies people. People are at the core of design thinking, and we determine what the issue is at hand, and we generate solutions that can fit the human, technological, and the business considerations. And now I would request, there's one poll that we would like to conduct here, and we would like to understand from you, with these three words, the human, the technological, and the business considerations, what do you think is more relevant or more important as per you when it comes to design thinking, when it comes to building a solution? So Shambhavi has opened up a poll for you, and you may want to have a look at that and give your responses. Which of these play the most vital role according to you in the design thinking process? So if you go to the poll section, you will be able to see 3 of the 3 options that are given there. Right, are you able to see that? Yes, okay, great. Shailendra, you have to go to the polls section where your chat and your questions are written. The box where your chat, questions, and people are. Okay, some of you can see and some of you can't. All right, so okay, thank you. Looks like some of them have responded, and in a while, I would request Shambhavi to just give us the result. Yeah.
So most of the responses are inclined towards people desirability over the other two.
Okay, so the favor is towards the desirability as compared to the other two. Fantastic. I mean, I really appreciate that response. Yes, it definitely starts with people's desirability. However, as you can see in this particular picture, design thinking integrates of those, and that conflux that is there in between is where we really come up with the solutions. So it starts with people's desirability. However, we give equal importance to the technological feasibility as well as the business viability. So for example, we have in India, we have recently in the last few years, we've seen, the riding culture coming up big time, and our very own Royal Enfield motorcycle, which was almost on the brink of shutting down. It's a case study how they have sprung up and how they have modified and made the bike, which is so user friendly now, and any kind of terrain that it can ride on. And looking at the popularity of Royal Enfield, there are so many international brands that have, or companies that have come up because they've realized that the riding culture is getting huge in India. And however, Royal Enfield made sure that they heard the voice of the users. The technological part was one part of it, the technological advancements. However, they also looked at what kind of connect or bond do these riders feel with their machine? What is it that they really desire? What are the things that they really want in their motorcycles? And the Royal Enfield bike modification itself is like a parallel industry. Yes, Deepa, thank you. It's a parallel industry that runs, the moment you get your bike, you want to modify so many things. That is what Royal Enfield realized, and now they have themselves started, fully, you can actually customize your entire bike before you actually take the delivery for it. So listening to your users, to the people, and understanding yeah, Deepa, that I understand that. It's just, it's absolutely fine. We just wanted you to feel what is it that is more important. People's desirability is where it starts. However, we give equal importance to the business and the technology part of it as well. So while it starts with the desirability of people, we do not give lesser importance to the viability or the feasibility. So yes, you're right. All three should be, the conflux of these three is where design thinking actually works. And this is this is a beauty of the design thinking tool, that you don't need to be a designer. You have to be working in a design department, organization, to actually, practice design thinking. Design thinking can be used by designers and non-designers equally, and it can be applied to all sorts of challenges. When I say all sorts of challenges, it could be an existing process or a system that you have been following in your organization, and you may want to innovate that process. because the way the entire world is getting digital today, it is becoming imperative that we make uh, our processes, our work as digital as possible. I mean, take the example of the banks. Although a lot of digitalization is happening in the banking system, however, there are still some of those systems which are, the traditional methods where for certain process, you still need to have that check, and you still need to sign on the check, and you have to submit that, without which things don't really work. So it's very important to look at some of these systems, and you may want to look at some of the systems that you have in your organization, whether it is an HR process, whether it is the manufacturing process, the entire approach towards your customers. So design thinking is not restricted only to coming up with a new product or coming up with a new service. It also allows you to look into your existing processes and systems and innovate them, make them better, and make them more user friendly. Right? So now let us understand, how do we do design thinking? So while I would like to mention here that today we're just going to give you a brief understanding of what design thinking is. However, we have planned a proper training program for design thinking in the coming week, and I'll share with you the details of what are the other details of that program. But in that particular training program, it will be a VILT, virtual instructor-led training program, where you will actually experience how to do design thinking. It will be like a hands-on experience, and we found out a wonderful way in which we can still, in spite of being physically away from you, we've made the method so interactive and so hands-on that you'll actually experience how design thinking actually works. So today I'll just explain some of the aspects of what we would do in the training program. So design thinking basically involves three areas. Three are the areas that I am going to discuss here today. We'll understand how it is a human-centered approach. We'll understand in brief the divergent and the convergent process that involves in design thinking. And also some of the principles that design thinking lives by. And these are the principles that you have to, kind of ingrain in yourself if you want to become a design thinker. So we'll just understand that. What is a human-centered design? It is a process that ensures that the design matches the needs and capabilities of people for whom they are intended. So the entire process of design thinking is very, very human-centered. And as you have voted, for the people's desirability, it's absolutely right. People's needs and desires are at the core of your design thinking process. So we don't look at them, these users, as customers or our vendors or our suppliers or our staff or our employees. We look at them as pure users, and we immerse ourselves into their behavior. We observe them, we immerse ourselves in their daily lives, we observe their activities, we listen to their problems, we listen to their stories, and we involve these people in the entire process of design thinking. So we're actually co-creating the product or the service along with your users. So building empathy, and in the entire process of design thinking, you will hear the word empathy a lot, because that is the base of design thinking. It focuses on your users, and you don't disregard what your user knows or what your user feels. You may feel at times that, oh, probably this person doesn't understand what we are trying to say, or he may not have the capability to think in that direction. However, we do not disregard them, and we build empathy towards our users. And we do a lot of empathy interviews with our users. We go and meet and talk, actually physically talk to our users and identify and understand what their needs and desires could be. So we define the issue or opportunity for the design, and based on the insights and findings that we get from this, the research that we do with the people, based on that, we frame and reframe the entire problem statement. Now I said that design thinking is a divergent and the conversion process. And as you can see here, these are the 5 major steps of design thinking. It starts again with empathizing. So empathy is where we go to all different types of users. The more number of users that you can reach out to, the better data you can collect. So we diverge when we are in the empathizing stage of design thinking. We go in all different directions, get as much data as possible, and we create that database, which is going to help us take to the next level, which is the level of defining. So the level of defining is where we converge again. So when we're converging, we take all the data and we define what the exact problem statement is. Once we have defined our problem statement, we again diverge to generate various ideas in all, we encourage wild ideas in design thinking. The quantity of ideas is very important as compared to the quality of ideas. So in the ideation phase, we encourage people to come up with something that even may sound absurd. And then we build on those ideas. As a team, we come together, we get those ideas. We also get ideas from our users, and then we build on each other's ideas. So no ideas is a stupid idea in this particular phase. And once we have shortlisted some of the ideas, we create a prototype of that. In design thinking, we say fail early, fail cheap, fail often. And that we do by making sure that we create a very cheap prototype. So when I say cheap, it's inexpensive, something which, with materials that are lying around, to give a feel of what the kind of process or what kind of product you're actually developing for your user. So we create a prototype. From the prototype, we generate one sample, and then we test that sample with the actual users. So this completes the entire, the process of design thinking. As per the, this is as per the Stanford School of Business, the School of Design at Stanford. They use this particular process. There are lots of other processes of design thinking, but this is the most simplest and most systematic and easy for anybody to follow. So when you do this, after you have tested, you will realize that the entire design thinking process, like I mentioned before, is an iterative one. So you may have to do a lot of back and forth. So even when you've prototyped and you're testing, you may have to go back to your observations that you had collected, the point of view that you had collected from people, the ideas that were generated. You may probably have missed some of the good ideas that have come, and you may have to go back and pick up from there. So design thinking is like it's an iterative process. So you have to do a lot of back and forth before you actually come up with the final business model, right? So that was the design thinking process. And now these are some of the core principles of design thinking. So it's very important to live by these principles if you want to follow the process of design thinking. Again, the word empathy comes again. I need to put myself into the shoe of my user. I need to feel what he is feeling. I need to capture his voice. I need to identify. I need to observe. I need to also understand his latent needs. So building empathy in the entire system is very important. Leverage reframing. It's very important in design thinking to have a bias-free opinion. Let me just come back to the questions after I just finish this entire presentation. I'll definitely take that question a little later. Right. So I was saying we leverage on reframing. So we have we come up with you know we have different perspectives. We look at things from different perspectives. We suspend all the biases that we may have developed over the period, and we look at it's in short. What we're doing is we're thinking out of the box. We're thinking out of the ordinary, and we eliminate the biases. We make sure that the lens with which we are looking at the world is a very clear and an open one, where we're open to more opportunities and the way we look at the problems. Here again, we would like to have collaboration is a beautiful word, and Shambhavi is going to put up a poll again over here to understand, given the current scenario that you are working from home and you're away from your colleagues, how important how important is collaboration for you in the current scenario? So we have two questions over here in the poll. One is, how important is collaboration considering the current remote working scenario, and which of these play the most vital role according to you in the sorry, that was the previous one. Sorry. So we have this question on collaboration over here. I hope all of you can see in the poll section. I miss collaboration quite a lot, and thank God for yes, thank you, Arindam. Thank God for this technology that we have right now. I mean, imagine the situation when about 15-20 years ago, it would have been really difficult sitting at home doing nothing without the kind of technology that we have right now, with which we are able to at least keep in touch with our people and constantly keep working even though we're at home. Yes. So Shambhavi, what are the results?
As predicted, very important. We have
Very important.
90% votes for very important.
Absolutely. And design thinking also embraces collaboration. Design thinking is not, like one or two people sitting and coming up with a solution of a problem. The more people that you can involve in the entire process, the more beautiful product that you're able to, bring out. And that is possible only with a lot of collaboration. You really bring out the essence of collaboration while you're working on the design thinking process to come up with your solutions. Foster exploration. Again, like I said, the ideas, you explore the vast amounts of ideas. You need to generate so many ideas during the design thinking process, and no idea is a bad idea. We defer our judgment, we leverage on the diversity. So a typical design thinking team in an organization would have, and this is what I have seen at IDEO, and you may be also able to see some of the videos of IDEO that are there on YouTube. Whenever they're working on a particular project, they would have a nurse in their team, they would have a psychologist in the team, they would have obviously an engineer in the team, they would have an HR person in the team, they would have a housewife probably in the team. So the diversity is what is celebrated in the design thinking process, because everybody has a different flavor, and they're able to bring a different thought process into the entire process. Tolerating failure, again, is a very, very important principle that we need to live by in design thinking, because you may not get things first time right, because when you're starting off the design thinking journey, it's like hitting out in the dark, and as you progress further, things keep getting clearer for you. However, you may not get solution immediately. You may not be first time right. So having that patience and that capability to tolerate failure is very important in the design thinking process. And yes, I just mentioned about ambiguity. Be comfortable with not knowing exactly where you will end up. You may start off with a different problem statement, and at the end of the journey, you may realize that the problem lied somewhere else, and you've developed a better solution to what you actually initially thought it could be. So the process may feel ambiguous for you. You may feel that you are, not going anywhere. However, tolerate failure, accept ambiguity, collaborate more often, explore, and just build empathy into this entire system. And this statement will basically sum up everything that design thinking asks for. It asks for a shift of a paradigm. It asks you to be open, have an open mindset, understand that you have to adapt to change. It develops a risk-taking culture and tolerance to failure. Right? I'll just mention a couple of success stories of design thinking. So this, as you can see, is a diagnostic imaging center of the GE Healthcare. And I mean, you would be aware, I haven't experienced, but I've heard from people who've gone inside that imaging machine, and it's a very it's a horrific experience, is what they say, and it's stressful to get into that, like a dungeon kind of a thing. And this is what, through design thinking, especially for the children, GE Healthcare was able to design this entire room in such a way that it felt like you're entering into an adventurous space. So they created like an adventure series, which was fun for the children to come and experience this entire. So instead of feeling scared or uncomfortable, they were actually looking forward to entering into this little mysterious, adventurous little thing that they created out of it. So this was a beautiful example of design thinking. So this is another one example that P&G has come up, and I'm sure a lot of you know the pains now of mopping your floors. If you have done that at your home, there are so many practical problems with mopping a floor. So they developed this with a lot of empathy, which is like a self-cleaning mop, and it is accessible to the hard to reach places. So these are some of the products that through design thinking companies were able to come up with. So hence, design thinking is, in one sentence, we would say design is the transformation of the existing conditions into the preferred ones. So if you wish to transform your existing conditions at your workplace, in your lives, design thinking is the approach. In fact, I would also say that design thinking approach can be also used to innovate the way your children are studying, the lessons that are taught to your children. So you can use design thinking as a process even in that, and see how things have changed right now. This is more of a force that has happened, but by force that children are at home and they're studying from home. But we have been able to innovate the entire studying experience for the design thinking as well. So this is these are some of the details of the training program, the virtual instructor-led training program that we would be conducting next week on 27th, 28th, and 29th of May. The timing would be in the evening, 4 to 6:30. You may want to take a picture of this, or you may get in touch with Shweta and Sulagna, my colleagues, for this. And apart from this, there are other training programs also that we are offering. These are the details of those training programs. Right. You may contact Shweta and Sulagna for more details. And with that, I thank you for being a part of this program. I'm open to taking questions now. Bimal, I'm not exactly aware of the PepsiCo approach, so it will be good if you can, tell us in short what the PepsiCo approach was with design thinking. Yes, I'll just take a few questions that are mentioned here. Piyush wrote, what are the tools you would recommend for each phase of design thinking? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. However, when we talk about the empathy phase, so in empathy phase, we do a lot of interviews. We do empathy interviews. So that is one tool. We do a lot of questionnaire surveys. We roll out a lot of questionnaires. Normally, when we do empathy interviews, it is done with 3 people. So there's one person who's just noting down the responses. There's another person who's only observing the user and trying to understand the the latent needs, or trying to read between the lines, or what the person is feeling while he's speaking. And then there's one person who is actually taking the interview. So during the interview process, those are some of the tools that we use. Okay, if you can share example. Deepa, what example are you asking for? Share example of. Sasmita, we may not be able to share this PPT. However, there's a huge lot of info, and I would recommend that you attend our training program, because that is where we will actually give you hands-on experience. Because unless you do design thinking, you may not understand. There's a lot of data that is available in the market, available online, if you want to read about design thinking. So you'll get all of that. So IDEO basically comes up with the entire concept of IDEO is that they innovate existing things. So right from a potato peeler to a shopping cart at the mall, they have also, IDEO has also been instrumental in designing space stations. So IDEO does a lot of different kinds of work. Let me take some of the other questions in the questions section. Does automation come under design thinking approach? Yes, it definitely comes under the design thinking approach. However, automation for what? Is something that, and how is it going to benefit the user? So at all times we focus on how is it going to improve the life of your user? How much time we invest in each process by thumb rule. Ranjit, there is no thumb rule per se. Unless we as a team feel that, okay, we have enough data from our users to work on making sure that all the possible users or a vast majority of the users, through rolling out surveys, through going and meeting face-to-face, once you feel you have enough data, you may want to invest time, your team may want to invest time in understanding or framing the problem statement. And after that, you may give yourself some time. IDEO also works on deadlines. So IDEO as a company, if they're working on a concept, they're working on something, they may also be working on deadlines, and they may have to give a solution. That may not be the best solution. If you give them more time, they may be able to come up with better solutions. But again, these are, as design thinking is a process. It keeps on going. You keep on innovating. Innovation is a continuous process. So there is no thumb rule. it depends on how much time you have, to come up with that. Carol asks, if any bias approach go positive for design thinking, then should it exclude? Basically, design thinking tells us that you eliminate all the biases. The bias may not add value or may become a hindrance for you to think more openly, and so I would suggest that you eliminate all kinds of biases. And in design thinking, there are typically 4 biases that we talk about, which we will discuss more in the training program that we have next week. Abhishek asks, does design thinking always involve transformational innovation, or incremental innovation is also design thinking? Definitely, it need not be a transformational innovation. Incremental definitely is, design thinking. You just, like there was this one example that I saw of, I mentioned potato peeler. So a potato peeler, under normal circumstances, in design thinking, we go towards the extremes. So we look at the extreme users of that particular product and see, so the potato peeler, if a person with arthritis has to use that, what are some of the pain areas that the person may be experiencing, is something that, we look at to design a better and incremental innovation, as you say. So we look at our extreme users and we innovate for them. So it need not be a transformational thing. Design thinking can be applied there as well. How does design thinking help HR professionals? There are lots of HR processes which we may still be created, and we may want to think, we may want to listen to our employees, have those empathy interviews with them. More often than not, with HR professionals, it happens that, we frame a policy and we just roll it out. We are not quite sure whether it is accepted by our people, and especially if the organization is pretty huge. So we're not sure whether we have rolled out a cumbersome process, whether people are able to follow what we have rolled out for them. So you may want to look at some of your HR processes that you have in your organization and work on them through the design thinking principles. Okay, Richard, is this specific towards any particular department? Does one need to have strong analytical base? No, not at all, Richard. It's not specific toward any particular department. Design thinking principles can be applied in all the departments. Because like I said before, it's not just changing, coming up with innovative products or services. It is also, it's also to improve your processes. So any of the processes in any of the department, you can use design thinking. And because it focuses on the user, so understanding from your user. So if it's a shop floor area, and there's a process that we follow at the shop floor, we may really want to know and understand, and I'm sure a lot of organizations do that, understand or capture the voice of your shop floor workers to know whether a particular process is actually working, or there are better ways to do that. And you would be surprised that the kind of ideas and thoughts that they have may actually be worth much more than what the design team does in their department. All right. As HR person, how exactly would it help? I just answered that question about HR. All right. Are there any questions? What are the opportunities of professionals and certified design thinkers? Certified design thinkers are definitely welcome in organizations where an entire an entire department, for just bringing up innovative ideas and innovative thoughts, where you're actually working in an innovative space where you're constantly coming up. It's more like a research R&D department. So the R&D department would definitely benefit from certified design thinkers who can apply the design thinking principles and help or aid the R&D process, as well as train more design thinkers. Create a culture of design thinking. Bimal, you're asking, the role of CEO is very vital. Are SMEs, family companies, ready for this? They should be. And hence, the wide reach that design thinking has, it should go, one very good example, of course, the company is big, Godrej company, and this is one example that a lot of people also give, the Chotu Pool that Godrej had come up with. Again, a very basic, simple concept, but reaching out to the mass of people for whom, who was they were price conscious people, and they came up with a solution like a Chotu Pool, and you may want to read about Chotu Pool online. So there would be a lot of SMEs who would have products which with very basic, simple innovation, very low cost innovation, they can come up with. Yes, so the role of the CEO is very critical. So like I said, design thinking has to be a culture in the organization. All right. Rohan Lele wants the strength certification program details. Rohan, you can get in touch with Sulagna and just a minute. Shambhavi, can you share the contact details of Sulagna and Shweta? Thank you very much, Bimal. Thank you, everybody. I've read the appreciation that you have given all the others. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you taking the time out and coming for this session. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Abhishek. Do reach out to us, and I will be more than happy to, more than happy to answer more questions. Thank you, Kerul. Thank you, Bimal. You take care too. Everybody stay safe. Thank you, Sandra, Sasmita, Rajendra, Rahul, Jackie, Ranjit, Anirudh. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Rama. Thank you very much, Piyush. Thank you for the questions.
We'll call it a wrap with that, Arundhati.
Shukran, shukran. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much, everyone.
We look forward to have you in the next session as well.